4:30 in the morning. Y'all got me cheesing already. I haven't even said anything, and y'all got me smiling big. I love y'all. Welcome back to SPACEJB. I'm your host, Space, aka the Astronaut. And if this is your first time clicking one of my videos, thank you. Y'all thought I was gonna say something mean, didn't you? Motherfuckers. Let's just get right into it. What I wanted to talk about is a game that I loved when it first came out. It came out on PlayStation. It was made by a company, Ninja Theory. They also made DMC and Heavenly Swords, if you've ever played that game. The game that I'm talking about now is called HellBlade's Senua Sacrifice. They used a very sensitive subject matter to make a beautifully crafted game. The dialogue was phenomenal, the gameplay was even better, the story was gripping, and the thing that I'm talking about is that they used a disorder called psychosis. And to give you like a short summary of what psychosis is basically a very severe mental disorder that causes your perception of reality to be not in connect with everybody else's. You can suffer from audio hallucinations, like where you're hearing things that aren't really there. You can suffer from visual hallucinations of seeing things that aren't really there. And I'm pretty sure it even gets more severe than that. Or you can have a combination of those things and it can really be debilitating. One thing I think that they did great with HellBlade was the character's story path was very gripping. You were invested in it if you played the game. And man, those levels were creative as hell. Shout out to the team that developed that game. And man, you talk about just certain areas. I think I'm gonna play that game for my YouTube channel one day. If not, I'll definitely play it on my stream, on my Twitch stream for sure. What this video is all about is about HellBlade Senua Saga, the second one. It's been a good long time since I've heard anything about the game, but I know it's heavy in development at the moment in time. 2 years ago, we had one of the best trailers revealed, and I personally, it's like one of my favorite game trailers of all time. And then a little bit, like a few months ago, last year sometime in 2021, we had the gameplay reveal trailer, and that's what we're gonna watch today. I wanted to react to this a long time ago. I didn't have the courage that you all instilled in me to even do what I'm doing now. And thanks to you all, I feel more comfortable, I feel more confident in being here and presenting my ass to you all. I should try that again sometime. That wasn't what I wanted to say. Anyway, I want to talk about some theories about the game, things that I'm excited about from the trailer, and referring to HellBlade Senua Sacrifice and tying certain things and aspects from that game that I think have a heavy influence into Senua Saga, as well as the unknown. What when it comes to my theories, what is this game really going to be, and how is this game really going to perform? So if you all are interested in that, I know this is old. I think it's an oldie but goodie. And what I mean by that is the information hasn't been there's nothing new circulating at the moment in time. Ow, I just hit my elbow. I think that when the game starts to circulate again, you guys are going to come back to this video and remember and be like, yo, Space was talking about certain things. And if you like this content, this will be the time to go ahead and click that like button, please, because that helps my videos in the algorithm. That's a great way to keep this channel flowing. And then leave me comments. Absolutely love those. Subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell, do all those fun things. That way y'all can see any content and everything that I produce when it comes out, and you don't miss out on shit. Okay? Not a damn thing. Without further ado, y'all know what I'm about to say. To all you stars and galaxies out there, all my space babies, man, I gotta start coming up with some better lines. Without further ado, let's take off.
And she said, "With our swords, we will forge new stories to strike the gods that haunt us." You might see me as weak, but I will show you what lies behind my eyes. ease our suffering, soothe our scars of grief, and break their siege of our minds. You may see them as gods, but we will show you what lies behind their eyes.
Wait. Listen. It's coming. He's here. That's my name. He can smell your fear. He's...
Looks like she's been through a bit since the end of the last game.
Knows our name. How does he know our name?
To risk your own life for what you believe is your sacrifice to make. To lead others to death brings a different kind of burden. One that Senua would have to learn to bear.
I'm gonna talk about some stuff at the end of this. We'll break it down at the end. I've seen this trailer before. I haven't seen it in a long time though.
I know what you have to do.
This game still, I mean,
Can you
this is
smell
probably
their
gonna be
fear?
one of the best games to come out on Xbox.
Look at the bones. Look at the bones. That's going to be you. That's going to be everyone. No one's ever killed a giant before. What makes you think you can stay down?
Those whose eyes are clouded by fear are besieged by the ghosts that haunt them. Senua saw that to win the war we must break this siege. Break it with an unshakable truth. Break it with an impossible feat.
Get ready. It's about to start. Get ready. Now's the moment. Get ready. You can do this. First the iron, then the fire. Yes. Yes. No! Yes! Varric! Harold!
He did. Take me, son. Other parts of this game play like this. That's gonna be sick. Like where they're trying to make it seamless like a movie.
It's me it wants to kill.
stunning. All right, let's go ahead and break this down and let's talk about some things. So first off, it seems that the game is already a lot bigger than what it was previously. I don't remember how long the original game was by any means. I'm thinking maybe like 20 hours, you know, give or take. It was a short game for at the time when you had things like Uncharted and God of War and a few other games that were coming out. If the scale of the game is a lot bigger, it's showing. There's already more people, their camaraderie going on. I wonder what she is. I know her dad at the time was the druid of the clan or whatever it was, and she was a warrior, and her husband Dillian, who passed in the game, if you haven't played it, spoiler alert, he passed away. She learned a lot from Dillian, and her mother passed down the unfortunate psychosis that she was dealing with through the whole game, and the fact that her father was a druid, which I'm pretty sure is like a religious, high-ranking like person in the Celtic world. So if I'm wrong, let me know. But if I'm right, then cool. But I think just because of his views on religion, like how they viewed things, he didn't understand psychosis. So he put Senua through like hell, 1L. Continuing on, it seems like Senua has been through a lot since then. There was a part where they showed her face close up and it looked like she had more scars. It looks like, you know what I mean, there's one on above her eyebrow. I remember this one from the original game, that you had to cauterize a wound that you ended up getting on the side of your face. But later on, there's like one on the cheekbone, and then right below, you know, on her jawline. If she is a high-ranking warrior or a chieftain or something, like a leader of these people, then I wonder what shit she had to go through to get to that point. You know what I mean? Since the ending of the first one, where she basically kind of overcame her real fear with what she was dealing with. The voices never left, but yet she became stronger by the end of the game, mentally and physically, and it showed by her letting go of her husband at the end of the game. This one here is kind of funny that they got these helmets on, because those are Zack replicas. If those dudes were like 2 feet taller, that would be an exact replica of the demons that you fought in the first game, you know. So yeah, I wonder if that is a factor. If you're going to have a little more help and assistance, you're probably going to spend a lot of the game alone. But I'm wondering, are you going to have some help in this game by some of your clan members? Or is this just a short-lived scenario where after this, shit goes crazy? And then when we go into later on, like, the atmosphere still looks beautiful. They did a great job with the coloring. One thing I did love about the game is that it had these grays and darks and blues and all these different, you know, dark tones, and they used fire and a lot of other things to light, like water and things like that, to really liven up the place. The game was beautiful, and I think that even though this is a very, you know, foggy-ish gray scenery, it's still, with these fires lit here and there, it's a pathway, and there's a beauty in that. And also it's a little unsettling at the same time. This part right here I wanted to talk about.
With our swords, we will forge new stories to strike the gods that haunt us.
Okay, so talking about they're going to use their swords to strike the gods that haunt them. To me, that goes right aligned with what Senua was doing in the first place. She was battling these gods and these demons, overcoming her psychosis and traveling through hell to retrieve her lover's soul. And though it has this like Dante Alighieri divine comedy feel to it, it's based off of Norse mythology, yet I still feel like there's this great weaving and inspiration, maybe from a game like God of War, when you're talking about eliminating the gods and the grip that they have on the humans, because we give those beings and deities the power. We give things like gods and celebrities and all these other things the power that they have. We, as the common man or the common people, not to put a gender on it, but the common people, we've created the separation between us and them. And the same thing goes with the gods. And Senua, in a way, maybe is like, forget that. You know what I mean? I've already battled through this, and I know that I'm stronger than what, you know, what any of these gods can deem us unworthy or, you know, simpletons or just there to worship them. It's like, no, like Senua may be telling the gods, y'all are on thin ice. You know what I mean? Y'all better watch y'all asses, cause Senua's coming, baby. And they're hunting a giant. So it starts off, and I think this first bit of dialogue has a lot to do with the description of the game itself, where they're trying to take this new game.
You might see me as weak, but I will show you what lies behind my eyes.
And that's straight fearlessness. Like those two, like you may see her as a weak individual, whether it be because of her femininity, whether it be because of her psychosis and the lack of understanding with that, whether it be, you know, whatever it could be, her size, it could be a lot of different things. But one thing Senua is not is easily broken. Senua is a fighter. Senua is a warrior. Senua has grit, and she's seen some things. She has persevered through things, and by the end of the first game, Senua broke free. Senua was unleashed, you know what I mean? And to see how long it's been since the last game to where it is now, color scheme, makeup, all this stuff, if this is just for the battle, then Senua looks triple the warrior that she was by the end of the game. She looks like she doesn't fool around whatsoever. And fearlessness, you can see it all the way through and through in her eyes. And one thing in the original trailer that they had, there was like this huge chant that they did, and it sounds similar to what they're doing now. And I looked up a couple Reddit users. I think one of them was r-HellBlade that was talking about how it's a chant, it's like a taunt to call out the gods, to call out the deities, and to, you know, it's like a chant of, you know, to transform or to corrupt and something like that, which still falls in line with what this game is about. This game is about, you know, there's a lot of different things that were woven into the game beautifully, and one of them I think was Senua's the corruption that was your kind of death meter. How many times you died, the black kept crawling up your body until it overtook you. And maybe at the end of that, the fact that she was liberated from those things didn't mean that she was liberated from her ideas, from those obviously she kept the voices, but how have they talked to her throughout this time? How have they helped or hindered or, you know, led her astray, so to speak? How have they led her here, if that is a big part of it? Because one thing she had to rely on were those senses, were those voices, and she had to rely on that to really believe that she was in control, you know what I mean? And not just trying to be like, I'm the only one talking to myself, but trying to be like, I am in control of my fears, I'm in control of, you know, my journey. So I wonder if the corruption is either the gods' influence and she's calling that out, or if the corruption is still her psychosis, and by that she's calling out the gods. What side is Senua pushing? Is she pushing the we're eliminating gods factor? Is she on like a Kratos revenge streak, or is she more so just defying the gods and still trying to take what she feels she wants and deserves back? One thing I thought was pretty cool.
Listen. It's coming. He's here.
It knows my name. The giant knows her name. How does the giant know her name? Is Senua known now because of what she did? You know what I mean? The gods that she's beaten, is she now known because of... So many questions. So many questions.
It knows our name. How does it know our name?
Or is that
Risk
her?
your own life for what you believe is your sacrifice to make.
Man.
To lead others to death brings a different kind of burden.
See, again, talking about these lines that I think really are talking the narrative. When the narrator is saying, you know, what was it? Let me go back a little bit. To risk your own life for what you believe is your own sacrifice to make. This was originally Senua's choice. She chose to do that in the first game. She chose to go through that journey in the first game. Nobody made her go through that journey. Nobody forced her to go through that journey. She did that all on her own. And at every turn that she could have turned back and, you know, walked away, she didn't. She kept pushing through. What is the term? Folie à deux, or whatever it is, where you make people believe in your own warped reality or a lie or something like that. Like, let me know if I'm right about that. But if it is, then what if this is what Senua's doing to these people? What if she is coerced them into taking on this fight because of her strict beliefs? You know what I mean? Does that make her a great leader? Does that make her a terrible leader? Because now she's forcing people to die in honor of a cause that may not even be their own. Once again, if these people are willing to sacrifice their lives, are they also suffering in the same manner, not from psychosis itself, but are they also suffering in their own traumatic ways? Have they lost much that they're willing to do this to see a better ending for their people? You know what I mean? To see the gods, the giants, the whoever is holding the keys to their chains, to see them destroyed.
To lead others to death brings a different kind of burden.
So that right there, that line alone, Senua's already suffering from psychosis. She already has auditory and visual hallucinations. She still has the voices in her mind. Now, maybe the visual hallucinations could have stopped. Could have. I'm saying could have. The auditory hallucinations are still continuing. So maybe that gives her some power. You know what I mean? Maybe in this world, having a mind like that and going through what she's going through allows her to cross planes easier, allows her to communicate, allows her to be communicated with by the gods easier. So as some people would see this in our time as a burden, though it's still a burden then, in this world, since there's a lot more mysticism and magic and, you know, mythology behind it, I think that what if her psychosis is seen as a power, as something that now puts her in a higher, like, people see her as this deity, as in a way. Oh, Senua, the lady whose brain is on a whole nother level. I heard she hears voices. What do you mean she hears voices? It makes her God. I don't know why I started to make an accent. There has to be a reason that these people follow her. There has to be a reason why these people are sacrificing their lives. And that I want to know. I want to know, why are these people believing in Senua the way that they are, to throw their lives on the line? I feel that either they fought Senua went in and killed the biggest, baddest motherfucker that was there, or through her psychosis, that information, or that lack of true, you know, scientific information that we have and medical information that we have now, lacking that, makes her appear to these people as some sort of witch or deity or god.
One that Senua would have to learn to bear.
Okay, so it says one that Senua would have to learn to bear. So that means that there's going to be some lives lost, and she's going to have to deal with, is that her fault or not? Depending on the strategies or choices that you make, it definitely very much could be. That shot is beautiful.
Senua saw that to win the war, we must break this siege. Break it with an unshakable truth.
So one thing I thought that was pretty cool
with an impossible...
Man, it looks like his peck and everything is like he just got into a war itself. So this is their depiction of a giant. One thing I thought that was pretty cool is that the rock started to grow over the giant, and I wonder if that's, you know, goes behind like, you know, the bodies of fallen giants turn into mountains kind of thing, you know what I mean? Or just I don't know, because it started to grow on his arm. And are there gonna be just giant, like we're walking around and there's gonna be giants stuck in mountains?
Get ready.
See, look, if y'all look right here, it's gonna grow here, and then it's gonna start to grow a little bit down on his elbow and up on his head.
Get ready.
Look, it's starting to grow right down here.
Do this. First the ear,
Then it's growing right up here.
then fire. Yes. Yes.
Now it's growing down his arm. And he broke through it. Boom. So was it dying, or was it using that to heal itself? You know, what? A lot of questions that are going to be asked. I don't want to know yet. I don't want to know until I play the game how long of time has passed. I want to know what position, or I don't want to know what her position is in this realm with these people until I play the game. And I also don't want to know what else in the world is going on. That thing looked like it got its ass kicked somewhere before it came to Senua. Unless they fought it, led it there, and that was the plan. Because half of that thing's peck was ripped off. It had scarring on his legs. His jaw was sliced open. What's up with like jaws and all that stuff being sliced open? Ever since like the Resident Evil remake. I'm not complaining, but yeah, I've noticed that. I want to know like how much of her psychosis is still going to be influential in the game, and the levels that they created in the first game were stunning. They played a lot on your own visual cortex. They played a lot on your own ears. They played a lot on just how the game looked and heard, and that created a very full body sensation to you. When the wind blew, you kind of felt that, or at least to me, that's how I took it. When you had to do some of those missions, I felt that there were areas where I felt, you know, and not just heard the wind, but I felt the wind blowing. And walking through water, it was like that was me splashing through the water, or walking through some nasty stuff. That was you walking through that. Coming from the last game, there was a lot of different characters that had an effect on Senua, from gods or from people that she took as gods to to folks that a lot of people had an effect on Senua in the game, from family members to deities to the psychosis itself, and how that played a big part in the world building that was HellBlade. Yet in this game seems to have added so much more, probably because of the budget. I don't know how big of a team or how big of the budget was on the first game, yet already with this one here, this feels like a way bigger budget, and they're using their budget to do what they would have wanted to do if they had this type of budget for the first game. And if this game is not only just a continuation, but yet an expansion, what could be a third or what could be a fourth game, if they wrap it up in 2, that's awesome. But I definitely see Senua being like Ninja Theory's God of War or Tomb Raider, something that they have a main character that they could continuously expand their world, expand their stories. If it continues anything like it was, one thing I thought that was really cool was where they were running after they fought, and then they threw the spears and she's running, and they got some stuck in the ground and she's running to it, she picks it up, throws it. I love that they're trying to make it very, very fluid, like you're playing a film. I love games when they do games like that. I don't always like to cut and stop and do this and do that. I like the fluidity in it. I like that it takes some time before I get to a new chapter, you know what I mean? Or I seamlessly go into a chapter before I even know it, or how they transition into these areas and these new levels of the game are very much movie-esque. In the first game, you had doors that you had to go through, and then you chose this door, you chose that door, and then you go, you know what I mean? And then there was a bunch of different things on each side, and you had to come back, and then da 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 da, and you had to come back, and then you finally went to the last door, and then it was like that. That's how they set it up. But this one here, I'm thinking that they could set it up to look more like how God of War looked. I know I keep referring back to that, but that's the only game I can really think about that had a major change for the better, and it just kept getting better as the game continued. And HellBlade can do the same thing. And if it is, you know, being on this scale, if it does have the budget and is using like Unreal Engine and all that, then yeah, don't give me these doors that I have to go through. Give me a world that I have to explore. You know what I mean? That could be one of the bigger differences between HellBlade Senua's Sacrifice and HellBlade Senua's Saga, is that literally you traverse the game and how the game looks, the world looks, can be completely different. Instead of putting me in a room, sending me through these doors, and then I experience the world through these sections. You know what I mean? I can seamlessly venture in and out of sections as I choose. Whether it's walking, whether it's, you know, horseback, whether it's by boat, whatever it could be, I don't care. And if they do go back to doing doors or whatever it is, then I am curious to see how that works for a game on this scale. I'm not saying that it can't be done, but I think that they have a lot of room to make it pretty fluid if they chose to. Something that I'm really looking forward to is how the game is going to just look different. You know, from those small things, from the hub, from the map, from, you know, those key points in the game that aren't necessarily make or breaks for me, but are something that I would love to see happen. I think that would be really cool. And then lastly, I'll end on this before I get out of here. I think that if I am going to spend a lot of time alone in the game, that's perfect. I'm fine with that. But if you're going to show me a gameplay portion where there's a lot of these other NPCs involved and they're helping to some degree, I want that to be something I can go do. I want that to be something that I can get involved with. If I'm back in this world again, I don't want to feel as alone as she did when she was traveling through her own journey, going through hell to get her lover's soul back. I want to be able to have this village or this place I can go to kind of bloop before I go on a mission, if it's set up that way. And if not, then I would love to spend some time in this village to kind of get some sense of Senua again before I go off and start doing things. But hell, they may just throw you right in the deep and say, have fun. And this could be something that happens later on in the game, or they could start, this could be the beginning of the game, and then this whole shebang bang blows up in Senua's face, because this is where she's come to the point of like, all right, now we're still fighting this war. We probably had some pretty good wins. The more people I've gotten, the easier it's been to kind of fight some of these smaller, lesser beings. Now she's fighting this thing, and then this could be one thing that gives her a crazy challenge. And the fact that it knows her, why does it know her? I'm really curious about that. Is Senua something more than just a lady dealing with psychosis in this realm? Is Senua more of a deity now than she ever was before because she defeated gods and that put her on a higher plane? Or is that just in her mind? She thinks this thing knows her. She thinks this thing is speaking to her when it's not. It's literally not. It's just trying to grab her and eat her. But she sees it differently. Looking forward to more information when the game starts to get back on its, you know, promotion wave and information wave, and you start to get more, because when I went to Ninja Theory's website, they were flooding. I mean, this game was passing through the main screen. It was HellBlade. Maybe 2023 we'll start getting some information. Ninja Theory start pumping some things out, and we'll start to know a little bit more. Thank y'all so much for tuning into this video and sticking with me throughout this whole thing. If y'all want to support me directly, you can definitely just check out my merch site. I'd love to see some of you guys in my gear. Y'all can also send me pictures and DM me those things. I would love to see you all rocking some space gear. Go ahead to g7astro.space. I'll leave the link down in the description below. Just thank y'all for supporting me on this channel. It's been beautiful to watch this thing grow. It's freaking mind-blowing. So thank you all for the continuous support. I love each and every one of y'all. I can't wait to catch y'all on my next video. Also, I just wanted to let you all know that if y'all are going through some bad times, make sure that you're trying to find love for yourself, taking breaks to unplug from all the social media and all the negativity, just trying to get some peace and quiet to yourself, and definitely finding those opportunities to give yourself a lot of love and attention. Don't always just seek it from the outside world. Definitely seek it from within, and know that I'm caring for you and that you are heard, respected, and loved. And I can't wait to see y'all on my next video. I'm getting the hell up out of here, and I love y'all. Peace.
I can't do whole.
Go ahead, son. Have a bump. Go ahead, son.